right? So let me just increase this. Right, so this is more readable, English, right? So the entire Japanese document has just been translated into English. And we can also do this word by word. So for an example, if I highlight this word, so if I just select translate and just select mini translator, I can just point to a word and have word translate that to me as well, right? So where you set these things, you just go to translation language, you can translate to any language that you want, and you can also translate from any language that you want. So anything and everything can be translated to the native language that you want. So that's another feature. One of the newest things we have done with Office 2010 across all the different applications is this view called Backstage. So for an example, here's my Backstage view. And if I want to set permissions on the document, or if I'm sharing documents, if I want to check for any issues in sharing, all this is available over here. And here's what is something interesting. When I go to print, immediately within the document itself, I get the print preview. I don't have to go to a different print preview window, I get the preview here itself. And you can also save, and not only can you now save it to a document, folder in your own hard drive, you can also save it to the web. So you are, now we are in an era where people are very passionately talking about cloud computing and so many different variations of that. So cloud computing is essentially, one of the essential elements of cloud computing is to be able to store your content in the cloud. So it does enable that feature by using save to web, and you can just select the web storage that you have and just select save, that's it. Later on I'll show you a document that I've already saved in the cloud. So this is about Word. Let me now move on to Excel. So here's an Excel document, or an Excel spreadsheet rather. I've already created some data just for the purpose of the demo to save time. So anybody knows what is bars are? What was the feature in Office 2007 for this? Okay, it's called conditional formatting. So we've retained this feature in Office 2010, but we've improved some of the ways in which you can represent this data. So for an example, if I highlight this row or the column, now I can select different types of color scales. So the representation becomes much more visually attractive. So maybe I want some icon sets. All this is just a click away, right? So maybe some data bars. So you can just keep doing this across all the series of data that you have. Now, Sriran earlier in his keynote was talking about some graphs within the cell itself or next to the data. Now, as you can see this sheet, it contains pricing for about 7 months, different price elements for each product. Just want to do a comparison of pricing across different months. If I were to draw this in a chart, here's how the chart looks like. Naturally, whatever that you want to represent is not very well represented in that chart because you don't get a feeling that you really understand the data by simply looking at this chart. So we have introduced a new feature to really help resolve this issue. So for an example, if I want to see a comparison of or a trade of pricing in the first product, say for an example branded X, I just come here, I go to insert, and I insert something called sparklines. So let's say I insert sparkline. So if I need to select the data range, so here's the data range, and just say OK. Now if I want, I can define all the high points, the low points, the first point and the last point, and maybe some markers as well. So the data becomes much more readable in terms of the different trends in the different months. Now, because this is Excel, if I want to repeat the same thing to the next set of products, all I need to do is simply take this and drag it down. So just like that, I get an idea of what are the different trends in terms of pricing across all my different products just in a couple of minutes. So this is called sparklines. We've also introduced something called slicers. So pivot table is a feature we've had for a very long time. I'm not going to go into details of that, but essentially what pivot tables allows you to do is to analyze data in much easier ways in order to make certain decisions. We've simplified this even further. So for an example, if I go to insert, and if I go to something called slices, let's say I want to slice this by, for example, product category, and maybe a customer name, right? or maybe the country. So let's say I want to analyze data by the product category as well as the country in which the product was sold. So I get a slicer. Right, so I can rename this any way I want. So let's say I want to see all the bike stands sold only in Australia. Just through a combination of clicks, all this data is filtered out for me. So caps in France, cleaners in Germany, gloves in Australia. All that is just filtered out for me without having to really understand how this is done. So the output of this is, it really helps you simplify the process of taking decisions based on the raw data that you have in Microsoft Excel. Now all this I did in Excel, I was doing it using the Excel client, as you can see I've installed in my computer. Now let me show you something else. Let me close this. Let me open up. So I was talking to you about saving data in the cloud. Right? So here's my web content area. I'm just going to open up the same Excel sheet that I was working on just now on my software installed in the computer. So this is all in the web. So here's the file. Just going to open it up within the browser itself. Right? So here's the same Excel sheet I was working on earlier, but now as you can see, it is displayed in a web browser. And this browser can be anything. It can be Explorer, it can be Firefox, it can be anything. We support all those different browsers as well. So I can also do my analysis here as well. Right? So here's how the data looks. The same sheet and the trend lines look in the browser, as well as if I go to my pivot table, I can also do the same kind of analysis that I did earlier. Here's the same kind of analysis that I did earlier. Now, what is the point of this? So, for example, I have created my sheet, I've done all the work in my Excel installed in my PC. Now, I covered, I don't have my PC, but how do I still work on the same content? So, I connect to the Excel sheet using my web browser. That's the first scenario. The second scenario is if you want to share this content with someone else who's outside the organization, but still wants to access this content and work on it, here's one way you make this available through Office web applications. Right? So the same content available in the web browser as well. And this is, by the way, not read-only. You can also edit if you want. So let's say I go to sales data. So here's another sheet of information. I can also edit this in the browser. Using a relatively slow connection, so this might take a couple of seconds, but point is you can do editing as well. Right, so you can see the Excel interface coming up in the web browser, and if you want to make a few changes, you can do that. So just insert some content, and you might notice there is no option called file save. You don't need to save it when you're working in a browser. Automatically, when you do a change, everything gets saved. Right, so if I open up the same thing in my Excel client, you have the same content. Right, so that's another useful feature. So not only can you view information in your browser, you can also do some limited editing as well. Right, so that's about Excel. Let me now move on to a different program, which is PowerPoint. So here's PowerPoint. Again, you can see across all the different applications. So I already showed you Word and Excel. Now I'm showing you PowerPoint. All the interfaces look the same. So there is a lot of consistency across different applications, and because of that, the learning curves become much more easier and faster. So here's PowerPoint. So let me do a few things with this. So let me just maybe insert a new slide, right, and maybe insert a picture.